review number 5, and it's the start of me reviewing a game series. There's a very split viewpoint when it comes to Sonic the Hedgehog. Some people love him and love almost all of his games without any exclusions, and some people hate him and think he's just one of those shitty 90s mascots that tries to compete against Mario, even though he was like the only one who was able to actually do that. And they think he should have just stayed in the 90s and just died like Bubsy the fucking Bobcat. And there are even some people who hate Sonic and thinks he should have just bit the dust way before the Sega Dreamcast came into the market. Yes, there are people who actually hated Sonic when he was still on the Sega Genesis. Which kind of makes me wonder, did any of these people even bother playing these games for themselves?
To be perfectly honest, I can't really recall how Sonic the Hedgehog entered my life. I can recall when I became a fan of the series, but I'm unclear as to what my first memory with the Hedgehog is. He was just sort of there alongside Mario as these two memorable and recognizable gaming icons. But unlike Mario, where I grew up playing his games, I'm pretty sure I never bothered touching a single Sonic game when I was below the age of 9. While I didn't play any of his games growing up, I remember stumbling across good old Game Champ 3000's YouTube channel and saw that he uploaded the cutscenes to both Sonic Adventure 2 Battle and Sonic Heroes. After only seeing images and a few flash animations of him, I finally got to see this blue hedgehog in action. I remember enjoying what I was watching. The one cutscene I'd watch over and over again was the one where Sonic approached Eggman with the fake emerald. I just loved the way the game looked at the time. Sadly, this was around the point where Sonic Adventure 2 Battle was only GameCube exclusive, and I had an Xbox. But that didn't mean I didn't try to find a single Sonic game at my local rental stores. I had just gotten into watching Sonic Heroes' cutscenes, and I searched up and down Movie Gallery to find an Xbox copy. Instead, I found a copy of Shadow the Hedgehog, which ended up being the first Sonic-related game that I played, and it was... I'll get to that shit later. I returned the game and never really bothered playing it again. Then in July of 2007, my cousin Andrew got a Wii for his birthday and had a sleepover at his house, but my mom wouldn't let me go to Andrew's house because I guess I was being a little shit back then. I was so upset for the rest of the day. After Andrew's party, we stopped by a relative's house before we went home. I was still in a bad mood. I wanted to play Super Paper Mario at Andrew's house, but no, my mom wouldn't let me. But then my sister and her now ex-boyfriend saw that I was being bitter, and her ex told me that he was gonna bring his Sega over with a few of his games. He did just that and brought about 4 games. It was a Sega Genesis, and the games he brought were Toy Story, Sonic Spinball, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I'm pretty sure he didn't own Sonic and Knuckles. This was when I finally got to play an actual Sonic game. The farthest I ever got with Sonic 2 were the first 2 acts of Metropolis Zone until I got a game over, and I found Sonic 3's save feature to be a bit confusing because I was a very stupid kid. So I ended up playing Angel Island Zone over and over again. I think I only saw Hydrocity Zone about once. And in case you're wondering, I beat Toy Story about 3 times using cheats, and I couldn't get past the first level in Sonic Spinball because it kept beating the shit out of me. But what were you expecting? It's fucking Sonic Spinball. However, my sister's ex took his Sega Genesis back and I never saw it again. Then my interest with Sonic sort of remained at a decent level. When I got a Wii, I had my sister go on Virtual Console to buy me Sonic 3 and Sonic 3D Blast. Why? I beat the entirety-ish of Sonic 3, then I just never played it again. I don't really know what happened, but I kinda hit a bit of a rough spot in middle school. I was miserable, having some sort of quarter-life crisis. Then in 2011, my parents got me a PlayStation 3 for Christmas, which kinda confused the fuck out of me. Mainly because I wasn't really doing very well in school, and I kinda felt the PS3 was undeserved. But I guess my parents had a feeling I was feeling severely depressed during that time, so maybe they thought the console would cheer me up. Spoiler alert, it did. I still felt a bit awkward playing it, but I liked the PS3. It was a pretty good system. I got a PSN card from my sister and bought a digital copy of Tac 2 to Staff of Dreams because my Xbox copy is basically destroyed. And I bought that new fancy port of Sonic CD because I was told by some, mainly the angry video game nerd Sega CD video, that it was debatably the best Sonic game ever made. I even believed that at the time. I absolutely loved Sonic CD. I still do, but I'll get more into that when I review the game. Sonic CD had just put me in a much better mood like Sonic 2 and 3 did to me back in 2007. Then I started browsing the internet for more Sonic games to play. I eventually came across the Kiga Fusion emulator and downloaded ROMs for Sonic 1, Sonic 2, and even Sonic 3. I somehow must have forgotten I owned it on Virtual Console. I played through Sonic 2 and it was just as good as I remembered it, even if I was forced to use a keyboard to play it. Out of curiosity and because I was becoming part of the Sonic fanbase, I loaded up the first Sonic game so I could see where it all began. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be reviewing this game. Sonic is a fast, blue, anthropomorphic hedgehog who has to save woodland critters from being turned into robots by the evil Dr. Eggman, who US distributors decided to change his name to Dr. Ivo Robotnik because it sounds less stupid. He's a big fat doctor with a goofy smile. Eggman suits him. You end up fighting Eggman at the end of the third act for each zone, and each fight ends with him exploding. That's about as much plot a game from 1991 will give you. Sonic 1 is a fast-paced 2D platformer where you could explore the levels for hidden television boxes that you could smash for helpful objects. Sonic needs rings to survive, and if Sonic collects 100 rings, he could gain an extra life. Another way of collecting rings is finding a television monitor that has a ring symbol on it. If you smash it, you'll get 10 rings. Other things these television boxes can give you is a blue shield, a sparkly invincibility for a while, and if a monitor has Sonic's head on it, it gives you an extra life. But Sonic doesn't just have his speed, he's got a spinning jump that can destroy enemies from top to bottom. Whenever you kill an enemy, they're called batniks by the way, it ends up releasing an animal that was stuck inside of it. That's some pretty nice attention to detail for a Genesis game. Since I first played Sonic 2 and 3 before this game, one thing that kinda threw me off is that Sonic doesn't have his signature spin dash technique. Instead, if you run for a bit and press down, Sonic can roll into a ball, which can also be used to kill enemies. This can help you get adjusted to the game's physics, and that could also lead to having much more fun with the game. And every level ends with Sonic dashing past a spinning signpost, which switches from Eggman's logo to Sonic's face on it. Nice touch. Okay, you may have noticed that I put fast-paced in quotations earlier. Yeah, one of the many reasons why Sonic exists was to be a competitor against Mario, and Yuji Naka, one of Sonic's creators, said he got inspiration for creating Sonic by playing the first level of the original Super Mario Bros. Over and over again to try and beat it as fast as he could. He and his team originally wanted to make a fast-paced platformer, kind of like what Sonic 2 became, but they couldn't do that for the first game because a couple of beta testers found the game a bit too fast for them. As a result, Sonic got a speed cap placed on him to limit how fast he could go, and the speed cap can actually be disabled while you're rolling, which is quite noticeable in Spring Yard Zone by how Sonic goes off the screen for a bit. Personally, I think this decision, while limiting for the game designers, led to an important part of what makes Sonic good. There's a very false suspicion that all Sonic needs to be good is just his speed, nothing else, and that any form of exploration or slow platforming is somehow going against how Sonic is supposed to constantly go fast. This is wrong, and it's not just wrong, it's fucking stupid. A Sonic game that lacks any sense of platforming or exploring is, well, boring as shit. And Sonic 1 helps teach the player something very important. You see, speed is something you earn, not something you abuse. In terms of what the first Sonic game does right, I think it does this concept pretty well. It's not the ideal way of how this gameplay should be done, but that does not ruin Sonic 1 for being a fun platforming game. And really that's all the game is, a semi-fast platform game that offers decent exploration that'll reward you with hidden ring boxes and other stuff. Heck, I've been playing this game for nearly 5 years, and I don't think I've found all the hidden shit that's in it. And the game isn't really that long, which could be a criticism for some people. Very ignorant people, but I think that's where replayability comes in. This is something that a Sonic game should do very well, even if it means limiting the game's length. My cousin once approached me about my Sonic Adventure speedrun where I played through Sonic's story in about an hour, and I think he said something along the lines of, "Cooper, if you could beat this game in under an hour, it surely isn't that good, right?" Completely ignoring the fact that Sonic's story is just 1/6 of the game, but I'll get to that later when I review the game. A lot of people think that if a game doesn't go on for very long, it is just suddenly a bad game, and that replaying it is just an outrage! You only have to play a video game once, right? With its few flaws, I think Sonic 1 does replayability right. Shit, it gets replayability down at the first fucking world, Green Hill Zone. Green Hill Zone is more or less the hold right to win sort of level. The type of level that even Eagle Raptor will say is the only fun level in a Sonic game, just for that reason. This is dumb. Green Hill Zone, no, Sonic 1 is just way too good to just whoosh past every level not bothering to do any sort of exploration. And Green Hill Zone has a perfect balance. It's pretty obvious why they keep bringing this game back in future Sonic games, even though I think Starlight Zone is just as good and deserves more love, but whatever. Green Hill Zone is just the perfect level to start out with, and it's probably one of the finest Sonic levels ever made. The music, the design, the look, it's just beautiful. While Green Hill Zone is just about perfect, we gotta remember that Yuji Naka and his team at, Sonic Team.
We make games, I think!
Couldn't make every level like Green Hill Zone, thus we got the previously mentioned speed cap and levels like Marble and Labyrinth. And the next level you go right into after Green Hill Zone is Marble Zone. To be honest, Marble Zone does break the pace of the game, if you decided to do the standard and boring thing in Green Hill Zone, which was speeding through the level as quickly as you could without any sort of interest in exploring, while mindlessly jumping through the platform sections, and if you died during those sections, it's just suddenly bad game design. Marble doesn't really have an opportunity to let those players who think that Sonic is just about going fast, to go fast. There's a lot of platforming in Marble Zone, and you're usually waiting to progress forward on these slow-moving block platforms, some slinging platforms, and jumping on different platforms to avoid lava projectiles. As much as Marble may break the pace for a lot of people, I actually don't mind the level that much. It would be nice to go fast for a bit, and I'm not really a fan of waiting for things to progress forward, especially in a Sonic game where the platforming, I gotta stop saying that word, should remain at a decent pace. But hey, the next level is Spring Yard Zone, and Spring Yard Zone is pretty jazzy, and I'm not just talking about the music. The level design is almost reminiscent to Green Hill Zone. Of course, there's a lot of springs, and this is the level where you could test out the game's physics engine and break the speed cap to watch Sonic fly off the screen for a bit. All in all, it's a pretty solid level. To be perfectly honest, I don't think there's a single zone in this game that I have a difficult time going through. You can say the pacing is a bit inconsistent, but that's only if you're trying to hold right to win. Sonic 1 may mess this up for most people, but it doesn't ruin the experience for me. However, there is one zone that I will admit I don't like that much, which is Labyrinth Zone. And no, there's no David Bowie crotch bulge to make it easier. This level is so fucking slow and so fucking boring. You travel underwater for almost 80% of the level, you move so slow, and you always have to wait for these damn air bubbles to pop up because Sonic can't breathe underwater, and he can't swim either. And apparently, the reason why Sonic can't swim is because Yuji Naka thought hedgehogs couldn't swim, but it turns out they can. Aw, how cute. So, if Yuji Naka had known hedgehogs could swim, Sonic could have possibly had the same ability to swim in the same fashion that Mario could swim. If Sonic had that ability mixed with the option to stay on the ground the whole level to collect air bubbles, then I think Labyrinth Zone could have been like 50% better. Unfortunately, we lack the ability to swim, and Labyrinth Zone is just as dull as ever. I never look forward to playing this level. I mean, it's not insanely difficult to go through, it just takes forever, and like I said, it's really boring, plain and simple. Oh, this game isn't that good! You hate something about it, so therefore it is just completely terrible! You're stupid if you like this game, and it's a terrible game that no one should like or support! No one's favorite game is Sonic 1! Hey asshole. It's just one zone, and unlike Eagle Raptor, one bad thing in a video game doesn't completely destroy my experience playing it. So simmer the fuck down. Besides, I'm rewarded for completing Labyrinth Zone with the next level, Starlight Zone. I love this level. The seesaws, the loops, the music, the bit where you get a whole bunch of ring boxes. I love it! It just makes getting through Labyrinth Zone all the more worth it. I honestly don't get why Green Hill Zone gets so much attention when Starlight Zone is just as good, but whatever. It's the best level in the game for me. The last zone in the game is Scrap Brain Zone, and it can be the most frustrating zone if you're having a very rough day, I guess. Actually, Act 1 is usually the most difficult part for me. The bottomless pits are a bit overdone in that act. Act 2 and even Act 3 are anywhere near as difficult. Act 3 is probably the easiest if you know where all the best shortcuts are. The final zone is, well, Final Zone. And all it is just the final boss with Eggman, and this could probably be the easiest final boss ever. You just wait around until Eggman comes down and you just jump at him a couple of times. There is a decent amount of difficulty. You don't have any rings making the boss a one-hit kill, and Eggman sends down these electric shocks that home into whatever part of the level you're standing at. Also, he could crush you with one of his machines. While I find the boss extremely easy, I did get a couple of game overs. If you get a game over, you end up getting sent back at the title screen, but if you rack up a couple of points, you should have a few continues. So you beat Eggman, and you could even give him one final hit for good measure. One other thing you could do in the game is emerald hunting. You don't have to do this in the actual levels, but you do have to gather 50 rings before the end of the level. Doing this will cause a giant gold ring to appear by the signposts, and jumping into it will take you to one of the 6 special stages. In these stages, Sonic is permanently in ball form, and you have to jump around in the level to reach the end of the stage by jumping into the Chaos Emerald once you reach it. Meanwhile, the level is rotating, and you could switch the way it's turning by rolling on these R's. You can also mess with how fast the level is rotating by jumping on these up and down circles. I think that's how it works. Again, I've been playing this game for nearly 5 years, and I still have no idea how these special stages work. Collecting all 6 Chaos Emeralds will give you a better ending, which shows Sonic using all the Chaos Emeralds to, I guess, restore Green Hill Zone by making a few flowers and plants form, as Sonic jumps at the screen congratulating the player. The after credit scene shows Eggman angrily stomping on the end card. If you beat the game without collecting all the Chaos Emeralds, the ending isn't really all that much different. Sonic just sort of stops, smugs at the player, and then jumps at the screen like in the good ending. Oh yeah, after the credits, Eggman taunts you by juggling the emeralds that you missed while the game tells you to try again. Nowadays, most versions of this game use save states, but back then you literally had to try again at playing this entire game so you could get the good ending. That's pretty heavy. Sonic 1 got ported to just about any gaming system you could imagine, which ended up causing the game to become the best-selling Sonic game with over 15 million copies being sold. Does it deserve it? Yeah, I think it does. It certainly did its job for Sega back in 1991, and while there are some people who think Sonic should have died alongside Bubsy or even Crash Bandicoot. Come on, people, he hasn't had an actual game for nearly a decade. But Sonic seems to be a good enough rival for Mario. Heck, their rivalry is still going on to this day, even though in 2001 Mario technically won, but whatever. Sonic helped sell the Sega Genesis, and it still remains the best-selling Sonic game. Is it perfect? No, but is it good? Absolutely. It's a great concept and starting point for Sonic the Hedgehog, but for God's sakes, don't approach this game like, just hold right to win. What the fuck, where did that motorbug come from? This game sucks. How do people defend this game? You know, like that. I feel like that would be doing a bit of a disservice because the original Sonic the Hedgehog is a pretty grandiose game for the Sega Genesis. It's great for what it started, and after 25 years, it's still a solid old school platforming game. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Why not? I love this game. Also, whatever you do, do not play the Game Boy Advance port. It's one of the worst ports ever made. It's got slowdown, glitches that didn't even exist in the original game, a very shitty and inconsistent frame rate, the physics are horrible, the screen is way too close to Sonic, and the music sounds like shit, except for Starlight Zone. That one actually managed to make it through, so more points for Starlight Zone. But the rest of the soundtrack sounding like shit is such an insult to Mr. Masato. I'm so sorry, Masato Nakarum. Okay, I just butchered her name, sorry. Like, jeez, what happened? Was the blast processing too good for the Game Boy Advanced? When did this port come out? Oh no.
Next time on Cooper's Perspective, we're going to look at the sequel to this game that got released just a year later. It's Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which to my knowledge is still the best-selling Sonic game if you're just counting the Sega Genesis. Until then, thank you for watching, and Sonic 1's great. Go play it.